All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Bill, and everybody, one at a time individually.
We're on podcast episode number 318. The title of this episode is Don't Reinvent the Wheel. Great creative real estate deals leave highly profitable clues.
Leave clues?
Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping for money, but okay, we'll start with the clues. Okay.
So here's the description. Most don't know this in real estate, but your job is not to buy houses or even concentrate on real estate. That's the last thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to know your sellers so well that you understand their situation they are in right now, where they'd like to be, and exactly how your solutions can and will get them to their ideal scene. The less you're immersed in the mindset of your seller, the less creative real estate deals you will do. So how do you become a real estate seller profiler? Mm-hmm. Where you would use a special kind of methodology to get inside the heads of your seller so you know exactly what they're thinking, what deal they want to do, and what to say for them to move forward. Think of this like how certain law enforcement agents profile and get inside the heads and psychology of serial killers, terrorists, and other criminal masterminds. And I figured if it works for getting to know the bad guys, why not use this talent to quickly understand sellers without getting a 6-year psych major degree? After listening to this podcast today, our hopes are you will quickly be able to evaluate and profile your seller's needs and wants and get more deals.
True that. Amen. Amen.
So why would we be talking about this in a podcast, I wonder? About creative real estate. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to spill the beans, but I talked to someone yesterday, and it's just amazing what people will tell you if you just listen. They'll tell you what's happening.
Yes.
They'll tell you what's going on. They'll tell you what they're trying to do, and then
tell you how to buy the house.
I can do that. If I did that,
yeah.
If I did that,
they'll tell you how to buy the house. They'll tell you how to buy the house.
Yeah. And it's easy to forget too. Start like, well, if I did this, how about if I did this? Wait a minute. Why don't you ask them first? I mean, imagine, not to screw the whole podcast up. Imagine being a waitress, right? You go up to the table and you go, so do you want the steak? Do you feel like pasta tonight? Oh, you don't like pasta. Well, why don't you just ask the people what they want? Because they know they have that figured out, right?
Exactly.
Oh boy. Anyways, do the podcast, Bill.
All right, so let's get through the housekeeping points first.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, there is a surprise link, and there is every podcast. Sometimes I'm giving away hundreds of dollars. Sometimes I'm just giving away documents. Sometimes I have reduced prices for our normal products. Mm-hmm. But every week it's a surprise, and it's always related to the podcast somehow, some way. So the point of the link in the description is that you can go there and get the full something, like to help you go through whatever we're talking about on the podcast. So it's the actual materials we would use in a coaching environment or to teach somebody how to do what it is we're talking about the environment. So on the podcast. So make sure you go in the description, you click on that link and you check it out. As well as make sure you subscribe to our channel wherever you're listening to us, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or in whatever podcast channel you're listening to us or podcast platform you're listening to us. Make sure you actually subscribe and leave us a review. That's our report card. We'd like to see if we're doing good, if we're doing bad, and if you want more, if you want less, or whatever you want to do, so we don't have to fly blind like we're talking about. Instead of exactly what we're teaching about sellers,
guessing I wonder what they want to hear in the podcast.
Exactly.
Maybe they like to hear this, you know. Exactly. We need the report cards for our wives.
Oh no, I don't need a report card for my wife.
Well, your mom's still looking at your report card?
No. My wife just wants to know. The only report card my wife has with me is I want this, and if I can buy it, I'm good. If I can't, then I start getting the interrogation. What do you mean we can't buy this? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, no, that's worse than that. My wife is an interrogator.
Oh yeah, I know.
My wife should work for the CIA and getting people to talk.
There would be nobody on the streets, any criminals left. They'd be all gone.
Brutal. She is brutal. Anyways, the last thing I want to say is that we record this podcast every Thursday morning. I say every. I mean, we've been doing it for 319 weeks, so there have been changes in there. But every Thursday morning, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to be part of the podcast and ask questions or make comments, you can go to either Facebook or YouTube, and you can just type in Flipping Houses for Rookies, and you will find us live at 9:30 on a Thursday morning with a big screen in front of me. And if you post a comment, I can see it. I can answer. Please only ask questions pertaining to the podcast because I don't want to throw the mojo of the podcast off. If you have other questions about anything else about creative real estate, I answer all my own support tickets. You can just go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. In the top right-hand corner, there's a support ticket. I'll be glad to answer your question other than what we're talking about on the podcast. Okay? So, with all that out of the way, let's get down to business. Mm-hmm. So, this may seem unusual for me, Peter.
Yeah, but no, nothing seems unusual for you. We're used to it. But go ahead.
But I constructed this entire podcast episode around this one sentence.
Okay.
So that is unusual for me because if you know me, I can't talk that short.
Everything I'm sure you won't. You're going to take one sentence and make a book out of it. Go ahead.
There you go. Here's the sentence. What do they want more than anything when selling real estate? I'll repeat it. What do they want more than anything when selling real estate? Now, I know that in many podcasts prior to this, I keep telling everybody that you don't need a script. I've become anti-script. This is later in my life because prior to my life, I was in the herd like all the rest and said, oh, scripts. I've decided to go anti-script. I'm in the dark side now. So my philosophy is when you're talking to somebody, if you just get their price, what the payment would be, whether it's a payment from your seller in creative real estate or whether it's a payment from your private money lender or where you're going to borrow money from, you need to know what the payment's going to be. And duration, how long you're going to be able to make payments, and deposit if the seller talks about it. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, just a side note on the deposit, I've been doing, we have a group in WhatsApp. If you go there, you can find it. If you go to WhatsApp Messenger, you can find it. It's called Let's Talk Real Estate. It's the name of the group, Let's Talk Real Estate. It's a public group, doesn't cost you anything. And I've been posting in there for several weeks links to watch me make seller calls. So I've been making my own deals on software, which we have created called Creative REI Reply. It's a new software. We partnered up with REI Reply and we get leads from there, and I show you how to use it and all that kind of stuff. So it's a whole different world for me. But my point in giving you all that little dissertation there is that I always tell you, ask what the price is. So I say, Peter, what are you asking for the house? And then I tell you, well, then you just ask why. Today, I'm changing that. And here, I'm not changing it. You should always ask why. So Peter, you're asking 300,000 for the house. Why? How did you come up with that number? Right. But here's what I'm going to add to the toolbox.
Okay.
There's 3 things you should know. And you can plug these in anywhere you want in this formula, whether you're talking about price, payment, whether you're talking about duration or down payment or deposit.
Yeah.
And here they are. So first of all, realize the purpose of the entire call or the entire transaction. If you just do this and never lose focus, if you have a one-track mind and do not get disturbed or distracted or derailed from what do they want more than anything when selling real estate. And then you need to figure out in your whys or in each section, what are the seller's biggest desires? Also figure out what are their fears. And then figure out what are their objections to my ideas or strategies.
That's good.
So I'll wait for you because I know you're looking around for your paper and pencil. You want to get it?
I think I would. Yeah, keep going. I'm going to do that because you want to find out what they want, what they don't want, and what they're worried about working with us.
Right. It's a little bit more than what they want and what they don't want. It's what are their big desires. Because realize this, when you sell a house, it is not like, oh, I'm going to take my couch that's in my basement and I'm going to put it on Marketplace and I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to sell it for $10 or give it away for free or get $200 for it. And you're going to put it on Marketplace in Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So often within an hour or two, the couch is gone. It's over.
Right.
It's finished. You have couch gone. You have money if you ask for it. Start, change, stop, cycle ended.
Nice and easy.
Right? A house is not this way. It takes months worth of work. It takes months. Even with us, it could take weeks if we do all the work.
Yep.
But if you're not hooked up to somebody like us, then it could take months and months and months.
Yep.
So what is that desire to make them go through months worth of work to get what they want? That's huge, right? And then the fears, like what are they afraid of during this process? What do they think is going to happen? I'll give you an example of that. Like, well, I'm going to get a contract with somebody and work with them for 2 months, and then all of a sudden, the day before the closing, they're not going to be approved and won't have their money. The deal falls apart.
Yeah.
And then what are their objections to my ideas or my offer, as we call a suggestion, our suggestions, right? Our proposal, as we call it, our ideas of how we could do this, or suggestions of how we could do this, or strategies. So in this podcast, we're going to mostly talk about the third one because the first two, I think, is kind of easy to figure out because you can almost say, my question is, when you sell this property, what were you expecting to walk away with? How much money were you expecting to walk away with? What did the check say? Or if you sell this property, what were you expecting to happen? Or you could just say, when you sell this property, what's your biggest desire? You just ask that question, right? Or what are you most nervous about? Or what do you think the hurdles are when selling this property? Or what obstacles do you have? What do you think is gonna come back and hit you? That kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah, those are good questions because I'm glad you did that because it makes sense what you're saying. But like, exactly what do I say? And you've had some experience coming up with just a nice sentence that you don't have to use it like a script. You just have a few things ready that you could just say to somebody. So you're not going, how do I ask them? Because we can be pretty stupid on this end. Like, I know what I want to ask, but what do I say? You get weird. So those are good questions.
Good. So quite honestly, if you don't figure out these 3 different things quickly, you just get canceled from your seller. Today's culture, they just cancel you. What that means is they ghost you, they disappear. They pretty much cut communication with you. They don't allow you back into their world.
Mm.
That's what it means to be canceled. And if you do figure these three things out, you'll have a massive, massive advantage over 99% of all the other people trying to buy the property, because you'll understand them. It's more than money. See, the unfortunate thing about the realtor system is it's all about money. You know, I talked about this in other podcasts. One of the saddest things in the world for me to see is that the realtor system has a code of ethics, and one of the codes of the code of ethics is that you don't reveal your client's motivation. So that could be your buying client, or that could be your selling client, right?
Yeah.
And they feel like if you did, you would take advantage of the client, the buyer, or the seller, which in true fact just completely, absolutely, totally cancels the whole deal, because money can't fix everything.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, proof of that is somebody wins the lottery and 2 years later they're broke and they have, $200,000 worth of debt. Money didn't make them happy, didn't make them a better person. It didn't make their life the way they wanted it to be, right? How many times have you heard people, children of very wealthy people commit suicide, or lose the fortune, right? So obviously money can't fix everything, right? So
that's true. That's true.
So it's unfair that the realtor system is all based off the money. And I made the statement earlier that we're really not in creative real estate. We're not in the business of buying and selling real estate. And the comment that I've made many times before, which is kind of a joke, but it's not, is I've never been to a closing. I've been to hundreds of closings. And I've never been to a closing that the house signs the documents.
Yeah.
It goes the person, right?
Yeah.
So technically, although others don't like me to say this, especially one of my coaches doesn't like me to say this at all, we're really in the paper business, right? The paper that controls the property, like the deed controls the property, and the financing controls the property, right? Or lease options control the property. So we're really in the paper business, and real estate is the byproduct, because people want the real estate, so they have to generate the paperwork to get the property. So technically, in the creative real estate business, we're in the paper business. With that said, and I'm kind of battling right now, I'm kind of in a rant, but with that said, what happens is the house has nothing to do with the deal at all. The condition of the house, any of it, as long as the person buying it loves it and the person selling it wants to get rid of it, then you have a deal. Those are the formulas. So it's the mindset or the feelings or the personalities of the players in the game that make a difference.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the houses you sold that weren't renovated at all, and the people are very happy to have it because they didn't have one. They're renting, and they couldn't buy a house right now. So like a lease option, rent to own was perfect for them. They didn't care about the house. People say to me, "You want to come see the houses?" Well, let's talk about like what you're trying to do first. I mean, how much do you want, and like when do you want to sell, and why you're selling, and if the situation doesn't work, if the numbers don't work, why am I looking at the house?
In our system, we do texting first, or direct mail, some sort of an outflow, and we're fishing. We're doing what fishermen call throwing chum in the water. Throwing chum in the water means you're just throwing bits of bait in the water. You're trying to hyperactivate the fish. And then what you do is you throw your bait down in there with a hook on it, and there's so much of the other bait that they just don't think about it. They eat it, and they're on the hook, right? So that's kind of like how it is. So what happens is we either send out direct mail or send out some sort of a marketing message, and they call us back, or we text them. That's called the contact point. And then from there, we do an opening call, and all the opening call does is pre-qualify them for, are they willing to take monthly payments or take a discount?
Mm-hmm.
If they're willing to discuss that, and you don't interrogate them at the opening call. You just want to know if you'd be interested in hearing those suggestions or offers.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like that proposal? And if they say yes, then they go to the closing call, and the closing call is where you do all the work. That's where the offers are constructed. That's where you're testing their willingness. That's where you're checking to see if they're motivated. So they have to pass the motivation test on the closing call, like they're willing to accept your ideas, like monthly payments or a discount, and then they move on. At that point, we send them what we call a memorandum. They sign a non-legal document saying that they do agree with the conversation we had on the phone. Once they sign the memorandum, at that point, we have a deal meeting, and the deal meeting is where we look at the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the last step of the process. We look at the house after we know what their intentions are and what they want to do, because otherwise, if you flip it around, you're looking at a lot of houses and you're not getting anything done. You're getting a bunch of non-motivated people that we call suspects.
Yeah, you look at the house and you find out that either you don't want to buy it or they don't want to sell it to you.
Right. And you spend 2 or 3 hours looking at the house and expenses and whatever else. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's continue. So if you figure out these 3 things, which I said, you have a massive advantage over 99% of all the other people trying to buy the property. So, oh my goodness, I just sneezed. I don't know where that came from. Look at all the sales messages your seller is being bombarded with, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Right. No wonder why it's hard to buy deals today because of all the sales messages.
Hey, you want to hear a funny one?
So many of them. Yeah.
Funny one. You've seen this before. Well, we'll go in a house and they'll show us like other letters or postcards they've gotten. The house I saw last week, the guy showed me like, see, here's the letter you sent me. This is a good letter. That's why I called you. You want to see this? He pulls out a postcard. These guys, he tore it up in 15 pieces and gave it to me. I said, I'm going to give it to my wife who writes the letters. This stuff is useless. But he ripped it up for me. Here.
He didn't like the other people's message.
No. And on top of that, the house is worth almost $300,000, right? He got an offer from these postcard people of $205. It doesn't even cover his expenses anywhere near. It's like an insult. So
to your point, which I didn't think of today, I didn't think of until you just said that. So to your point, so what we're talking about today is the way we're gonna communicate to the seller. Mm-hmm. We're gonna communicate and get their reality. What do they agree with? What do they think is real, isn't real? What's their acceptance level of all of this, right? So the important thing is today we're gonna talk about talking to them. Mm-hmm. But you bring up a valid point, because a marketing piece is a communication device. So how do you talk to them? And their call to action is their response to your communication. So if you're communicating them correctly, their call to action is their answer, is their acknowledgement, is their, yeah, I agree with you, Pete. What can we do?
Yeah, they'll at least talk to you.
And they're not communicating to you is their disagreement, silent disagreement that this guy's not, just like what this guy said to you. He ripped it up, and the guy that wrote the postcard has no idea how far off it is.
No, and right out the gate, you don't even get to start. You know, the gate opens, the bell rings, and your horse is sitting there.
Yep.
You know, so it's quite remarkable.
So let's face the truth. If you're not rich with creative real estate, it's because your words are not rich.
Wow.
What else could it be? I mean, you should be offering good customer service. Your customer service isn't shoddy. Right? You're not giving low quality offers. You're studying like mad with me and whoever else. You're paying for courses. You're learning how to give offers. Mm-hmm. Right? You're not being scammy. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming, well, maybe you are. Are you lazy? I don't think so. Are you uncaring? Do you not care about the person? I don't think that's the problem. Then why don't you have more creative real estate deals? I mean, if you have good customer service, you're giving a quality offer, you're not being scammy, you're working hard, and you're caring about your sellers and your buyers, then why don't you have more creative real estate deals?
And the answer is
So here's the problem you face.
mm,
Organized thought and words are rare when giving creative real estate offers. People shoot, as we call, from the lip, like shoot from the hip, like a gunman shoots from the hip. He's got bad aim. It just, the bullet just goes wherever. He doesn't have control of his gun, right? So shoot from the lip means the same thing. You're just shooting. It's tongue in cheek. It's a quick response. You didn't think about the ripple in the water you're going to create on the other end of the lake when you threw the pebble in, right? You just made a comment to look cool or not be embarrassed, right? And most deny the correct questions to ask sellers because they themselves feel like it's too intrusive. Or the biggest problem that I have, the biggest problem I have with my coaching students is coaching clients, is teaching them how to invade the personal privacy of the seller. Because some people don't like conflict, and some people are like, for a lack of words, I don't really mean this, but they're too liberal. They're too, they feel like that's not fair, and you're like bullying the person, right? And it's like, that's Bill's personality. I would never say it that way. And they change those organized thoughts and words, and they don't get the effect that we get because they themselves don't feel like they should give that question or invade the person's social veneer. Like penetrate and get down to like what's really happening. And if somebody cries, they get offensive. But I'll tell you, I've been in many living rooms and they cry. Why? Because it's a personal thing. I mean, if they're about ready to lose their house and they're in foreclosure, and it was because of whatever, like I'll give you a quick story that I probably shouldn't tell you, but what I'm dealing with right now, my sister, who's in Florida, and I might have to go there pretty soon because I think she's pretty ill, is in the hospital for 4 days.
Oh.
And dealing with, we thought it was diverticulitis, but it's something else. So the point is they kind of live on a shoestring budget. Now, she just had this because she drives a school bus. I mean, in Florida, school bus business is a huge business. It's not like up north, right? It's a huge business. They move something like, I don't know, 70,000 students a day or something like that. It's a big number, right? So my point is they just came off of a summer vacation, and now she's in the hospital. She's not working. She doesn't get paid. They have a house. They just bought a house. So how hard is it for somebody in that situation to get behind a mortgage or start having monetary troubles that was not even their fault? It was just the environment. It was their surroundings that enforced on them a bad situation. And now they're stuck. And I'm not saying my sister's going to lose her house, but I'm saying that stories like that you start hearing when you penetrate the social veneer. And veneer means a thin layer of something. Like veneer on like furniture. It looks like it's real oak, but it's just a eighth of an inch veneer, but underneath it, it's actually particle board, right?
Yeah.
So
when
I say social veneer, it just means somebody's temporary personality to look like, to the social aspect, they look like they're doing well when they really aren't. Just beneath that, they're a total wreck. So
sure, yeah, yeah. Somebody how they are. They go, oh, good. They're not.
Yeah.
Oh, good. How are you? Good.
Yeah.
They're not even talking.
Yeah. So most deny the correct questions to ask the seller to actually penetrate this social veneer or get in and find out what's really going on. Right? That's a big problem. Problem. This is like the enforcement agent, chasing a serial killer or a terrorist not having a murder book. And so they're chasing the serial killer or terrorist, right? and not having a murder book to keep all of the facts of the case. Now, kind of a weird scenario, but if you go to Prime TV, right? There's a series on there called Bosch, Bosch, and he is a detective in LA, and he works on the cold cases. And this is kind of where I got this from, because I love Bosch. I've read all of his books multiple times, and then they came out with the series, and my wife loves it. Everybody that watches it, it's a great series, right?
Cool.
Bosch, a great series. The point is that he covers cold cases. What that means is he goes into the storeroom and gets a box that has been not touched for 10 or 15 years on a murder, right? And this murder book is what the whole plot runs off of the story. So it's a great example of what I'm talking about here. It's like, if things are not answered into the murder book, you don't have clues, and data is scattered, and it's not organized, and it's hard to actually keep track of what's going on in the transaction. So Cashflow Johnny says,
Sup, real estate freaks. That's short for what's up.
Exactly.
Hey, Johnny.
So, is this making sense, or am I being a little bit weird here?
No, it's making sense. I mean, to me, it's foreign, because I've been talking to people for years, and like, I had a student doing a guitar lesson. He kept touching his stomach and says, "You okay? You have some digestive issues." I'm ready to go in there. What do you need? I got digestive tonic in the room. You want to talk to my doctor? I'm ready to get in there, People tell me their life stories. Walking up the street and see my name. How you doing? Oh, I'm getting divorced. What happened? Oh, blah, blah, blah. People just tell me things. I don't know if it's my welcoming face, or just, I'm actually interested and willing to try to help somebody. And I like to repeat this every once in a while to our listeners. I know, because it's happened for me, I got into real estate to make money. I don't know about anybody else, but I thought it'd be a nice way to make money. I wasn't looking at how can I screw people to make money, but I want to make money. Turns out you have to help somebody to make money. I was a waiter. What do you want to eat? If I didn't give them what they want to eat, we'd close down. So you have to ask people. You have to find out what they want.
I think we did that on the podcast number 317 or 316. I think it was 317. Was Earl Nightingale said, "The more people you help, the more wealthier you become." I
like that. So that's indelible, of like right about here in my head. It's just stuck there. But how can you argue that?
Right.
How can you argue that with anything? Yep. So you look, but we start off like, I want to help me. You said something like your communication or your words have to be rich, right?
Yeah.
Right. I want to add something. They have to be rich to the person you're talking to, not to you.
Right.
Because you'll be looking at, how can this be rich for me? And that doesn't help the other guy. And he walks away and you wind up there by yourself. So if you can work with the other guy, got it?
I have the quote. Zig Ziglar once said, "You can have everything you want in life if you will help enough people get what they want."
Oh, that's awesome. Zig Ziglar too. Wow.
You will have everything you want in life if you help enough people get what they want.
Hey, have you made an email on that?
No, I should though. Maybe I will.
Yeah, do that. Because write one, because I want to keep it.
Okay.
Write it for me, so I'll download it and I'll have it.
All right. So where do we get these clues from? So your sellers obviously will know what these clues are. They'll know what the symptom of the disease is, but they don't always know what the disease is.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful of that, because they could be telling you what the symptoms are. Like, for example, I don't have money is the symptom, right? I can't buy your coaching bill because I don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the symptom. It's not the disease. The disease is, what are you doing with your time? What are you not doing with your time? What are your habits like? What are your habits like that get you no money? There's the disease. The disease is, what do you do every day? Are you more interested? Are you more interested in relaxing or getting achievements or getting goals?
Yeah. I had to work in that recently, because once in a while I work with people, helping people. And let's say, oh, I have trouble with relationships. Oh, I can help you with that. Wait a minute. Why do you have trouble with relationships? Why? Why can't you fix that? Why can't you solve that? Why can't you sell your house? Why can't you keep your house? Why? What happened? Why not? And that why to me.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about at the beginning of the podcast. So you're asking the price and the payment and the duration. Yeah. So it's like, so what are they giving you just symptoms? Are they actually giving you the true reason? There's a difference, right? Are they just giving you some fake answer, some social, like, this is the correct thing I should say? Or are they
I better not tell him what I really think. How about that? Yeah. I better not tell him what I really think, because you might take advantage.
A lot of people think you take advantage of them. So the point I'm trying to make is that once you learn this, then you can actually find out what's really going on and truly help someone.
So we could actually practice that just talking to people, couldn't we?
Yeah. Well,
you know, what do you want to eat?
The good news is
where you want to go, anything.
Right. I got to keep moving here because we haven't even gotten to the meat and the potatoes of the podcast. So there's only about 12 reasons a seller won't sell to you. Those are the objections. And the good news is no one seller has all 12 concerns.
Thank God.
At most, each seller has maybe 2 to 4 concerns. But if you know all 12 of these, you're ahead of the game.
Makes sense.
So especially if your words are organized in a way to help the seller. So things like, and I'm going to give just a weird, this is not one of the objections for selling a house. It's actually from the car business. But so the guy says to me, he's sitting in my car dealership and he's looking to buy a car, right? And he says to me, I need to talk to my wife. So what do most people do with that? Okay, well, some clever people might say, well, let's call her. They think they're being clever. Right? Where what I'm saying is, if you have the correct organized words, it would be something like this. Oh, okay, that makes total sense. So she's going to help you make a decision. So which part of the decision do you need help with? Is it the payment? Is it the color? Is it buying from us? Is it you have some concerns about getting the good deal and you just want to run it by her? What part of the you need help or had to have a conversation with your wife is it?
Yeah. Could you say what part of this are you not sure of?
Yeah. But my point is it's because you have an organized answer. And at that point, it's going to kind of disabuse or break down why he's giving you that social answer. Right? See, my point is that he's not telling you the truth.
Right.
He's giving you an excuse. So in this particular case, it's not a true origination. It's not how he really feels. It's an excuse.
Yep.
Right. So my point is that in any industry, there's an average between 12 and 15 excuses or objections or stalls or resistance or whatever you want to call them, obstacles, right? And in real estate, there's about 12. So especially, by the way, every great communicator uses organized words for his or her solution. Every great communicator uses organized words for his or her solutions. Now, the bad news. You need to talk to sellers to get this profiling mastered. So one of the biggest things I have trouble with my coaching clients or my students is to get them to talk to sellers. For some reason, you can stand in a train going to the airport. You can stand in a shuttle train and be squished and have people on all sides of you, 4 people boxing you in, rubbing up against you and close to you and thinking, that guy just farted, or that guy's got bad breath, or that guy's got BO because you're that close to them, but you won't talk to them. Go figure.
Yep.
The way you are going to get a lot of money in real estate is to talk to people. The more people you talk to, the more outflow you do, the more deals you can, the more offers you can make, the more proposals you can put out there, the more you'll do. It's just a numbers game.
Yep.
So the bad news is you have to talk to people. But today, I'm going to give you the 7 steps to master this. Okay, and become a multimillionaire in creative real estate. I'm going to tell you the 7 steps on how to do this. Not just how to talk to people. I'm going to tell you what you should do when you talk to people, so you can become better than I am at it. And I'm pretty good at it, but it's only because I've talked to thousands of people.
Yeah.
I mean, thousands, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people. I don't even know anymore. I stopped counting at 4,000. Okay. So these are the steps in profiling your seller perfectly so you can engage properly and help your seller the most possible way you can. You'll become a specialist in helping people using creative real estate if you do these things. So here's the first one. You need to identify and write down every question or concern the seller has that you did not know how to deal with while talking to them. And you'll know this because they'll give you some sort of like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I need to talk to my wife. And it's like this really unique concern that you didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Another one is, I need to talk to my wife is not one of them, but one of them could be, I need to talk to my lawyer.
Yeah, more in real estate. That it sounds like a good excuse.
Yeah. Right. Well, really what that means is what you just said, I didn't understand. I needed somebody to interpret it for me. That's what it means when somebody says, I need to talk to my lawyer. I didn't understand anything you just said, and I need somebody that I trust, that I'm paying, not even that they trust them, but I'm paying because they're registered with the bar association. If they do something wrong, I can go after them to give me advice about what you just said because I didn't understand. I need an interpreter. It's like you're speaking Italian and I'm speaking French.
Yeah,
and I didn't understand it. Right? So these are the roadblocks that prevent you from making a lot of deals. You must know how to best deal with these concerns. But the first thing you have to do is you have to identify, you have to notice, you have to categorize or keep track of these questions instead of just by memory. You have to notice these questions. You have to notice that, because what you'll start doing once you go through the steps on here, you'll start realizing that almost every seller, you'll wait to hear, before you finish saying what you're saying, you're going to know they're going to ask this question. That's what happens to me. And it takes patience, because it used to be in the beginning, I would like cut people off and I would talk over them, because it's like I was trying to get everything I could say in. Now, what I realize is the seller needs to work through it in their own mind. So even though you've done this 100,000 times, you're in a new unit of time. You're in present time right now, right here, dealing with this person that never heard of this before. And even though you've heard of it 10,000 times, you need to be patient with them while they work through it in their own mind. You have to work through the solutions that you're proposing, the pros and the cons, so they can see if they should continue dealing with you. So the first thing you need to do is you need to write down every question or concern that you need help with. Or I would just write them all down in the beginning, even if you don't need help with them. What are the concerns you're hearing? What are the questions the seller has? Right. Number 2, organize all the questions and concerns you've heard. So you've written them down. Now what do you do with them? So what I do is I put each one of these concerns, these sentences or whatever they are, on the top of a blank piece of paper. So you have one concern, one blank piece of paper. So technically you would have 12 pieces of paper. Well, you'll have more than that, but you'll start with 12 pieces of paper, right?
Right.
So you devote an entire page or two to each question or concern. Now they're in a notebook and they're organized,
Mm-hmm.
right? So number 3, you start to write down your best responses to each question. Your
Right.
best responses.
Yeah, because on the phone call, you can be like, oh, what do I say? But a few minutes later, damn, I wish I'd said that. Or next day, like, oh, I can say that. Or talk to me, talk to Bill, talk to somebody. What do you do when this happens? So you can come up with how many responses can we get? 5, 10?
As many as you need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go over that in a minute. So you start to write down your best responses to the questions.
Mm-hmm.
After you've written down your best responses, write a second, write a third, write a fourth.
Mm.
I can promise you with all of my life, or on the life of my children, how's that? I can promise you, the more you work with the questions, the more answers you get. And I only know this because I am not somebody special. I'm just actually a dumbass. And I mean that. I'm not making fun of myself. I'm not self-degradating myself. I'm telling you, I call myself a dumbass because I like things simple. I don't want to remember a whole bunch of stuff. I want to have my simple processes and know what they are. So one of the things that I do is obviously this podcast is proof of that. We've done 318 podcasts on the same subject, creative real estate. I have to keep writing over and over and over and over the same topic. So technically, if each one of these podcasts is an hour long, we've done 318 hours of training on the same topic over and over and over again. So by virtue of me having to write a podcast every week, that by the way costs me 5 or 6 hours of my time for everything by the time I write it, record it, post it, and I do it all myself. Right? Emma helps me a little bit with the syndication, but the point is that because I've gone over the material so many times is why I'm here giving you these ideas and these rules, because I've covered the material so many times. You can never cover it enough. So you'll start to notice every time you give the answer again and again and again and again, you'll start getting better and better and better at it, and you'll start getting more. What you'll start noticing is the responses of your people that you're talking to will get better and better. That's how you're going to know whether you have good responses, because they're going to give you positive feedback. And the best positive feedback you can get when you talk to somebody is they get into action the way you want them to get into action.
Mm. Yeah.
Agree with them. They start doing things to help you get the solution they want and you want. That's the best test.
Yeah, it's great when you're not chasing people, that they call you, they email you, they send you information you need, they ask questions, and they contact you. That's a great sign.
And and like Peter says, that's a great litmus test. If they're calling you and chasing you, you know you've done a good job. If they're ghosting you and leaving you, then you did a bad job and you need to fix it. If not with that person, then with another person. Please don't do it again to the next person. Realize that you made a mistake and you need to fix it. All right, number 4. Generate additional quality responses, because the first responses you get are going to be okay, but they're not going to be quality. So congratulations, you've written down your best questions and your best responses. Now you need to add to the list of responses. Why? Like I just told you. Remember, your words can make you rich. I have found you will not find your best answers until you get into the 10th, 12th, 14th response. Push yourself. Really think about how you can do better and better. I remember when I first taught that to you some time ago, it was a big thing for you. Right?
What's that?
I remember when I first taught that to you a long time ago, that was a big thing for you.
Well, it was interesting because a lot of people either have no solutions to a problem that they have, because this works with problems in anything. Don't just take the first thing you have in mind, like, oh, we'll just borrow the money. You just keep looking for solution, response, and it gets better. And sometimes like 7 or 8 or whatever it is. We just did that recently. We had to do something about the 4th or 5th one. Oh, that's a good one. But one, don't give up. And don't just take the first easy way out, you know? I'll just move into my brother-in-law's basement. Like, maybe not the best way to go. Just keep looking and you'll find better and better answers.
Challenge yourself. And the more you challenge yourself, you're right, the better solutions that you'll think of. I could tell you, my kids joke with me all the time. Because one of my, especially when they were teenagers, which they aren't anymore, they're 27, well, they're 30, 27, and Brendan turns 25 next week. And my youngest is 25. Holy shit! So, anyways, the point is they used to tease me when they were younger. It's like they would ask me a question, and then they would say, "Oh, Dad's not going to give us an answer. His answer is I need to sleep on it." And I don't know why, but I go to bed with a problem and I wake up in the morning with a solution 99 or 98% of the time. I'll just wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. I keep a pad and paper next to my bed because I am a copywriter and I'll see things on TV or hear things or I'll be reading something. So it's mostly for that. There are many times I wake up 3:30 in the morning with an idea and I'll write it on a pad because I won't remember it when I wake up, and then there's a solution. Okay?
Bill, you're on the right track. That's how great songs are written.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's how Beatles do it. They have these little tiny tape recorders, notepads. They wake up in the morning, they got a song in their head, and yesterday it was written like that song. Paul McCartney wakes up. So you're on the right track, man.
Nice.
No
pun intended, right? I'm on the right track. No pun intended, right? On the right track.
We're not talking about trains. It's not even a pun. It's just
no track, like track of music. Like I got the right track.
Oh, see, I didn't get it. See, you're more clever than I am on that one.
Number 5. I'm moving on. That was a bad joke. So 5. Include responses for every personal type of seller you can run into.
Wait, say that again?
So include responses for every personality
or
type of seller you can run into. For example, let me give you some different ideas of personalities. Enthusiastic. Not many of those around. Cheerful. Yeah. Are they conservatism? Are they conservative? Conservative? You know, like a banker and a lawyer pretends to be conservative. Which, by the way, conservatism is a higher harmonic of fear. Yeah. Conservatism means they're trying to hang on. They don't want to lose anything.
Yeah, because they're afraid if they do. Yeah.
Are they bored?
Mm-hmm.
Are they antagonistic? Are they in pain? How many people have we talked to where they're selling a house because they're in pain? Right? Retired. I can't do it anymore. My body. I can't paint anymore. I can't cut the grass anymore. I'm tired of going over there. How about this one? Angry. Resentful. That's another one we run into a lot. Resentful. Well, I got divorced and my husband didn't pay the mortgage for 4 months, so now we're getting repossessed, and I'm losing $50,000 because that's how much equity we have in it. So now I have to have a fire sale because my ex-husband, or soon-to-be ex-husband, didn't do what he was supposed to. He was being spiteful. The number one worst, Peter. The number one worst, passive aggressive.
Ooh.
They're hiding it. They're covert. They're hostile. They're very hostile and they're being covert about it.
Passive. Two-faced, pretending, but they're mean.
Right. They're acting. They're making you think like they're your friend and they aren't.
Yeah. You know what? When you see somebody who's enthusiastic, probably not, because not too many of us are that cheerful in this world. So probably just a two-faced faking it. So be careful on those. If they really are, you're lucky. If they're not, you're in trouble. Be careful.
How about unexpressed resentment? How about fear or apathy? Apathy is like, there is no hope. There's no way I can sell this house. There's no way. You can't help me.
Hey, you want to hear funny? We saw that house in Berlin that was 1910 and not kept up at all. And, you know, you're talking about people being like this. I decided houses can be in these conditions as well because of the person. That was an apathy house. The house was just sad and apathetic, right? Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Then you get an angry house. Things are smashed up, broken and banged up.
You got a great idea. Well, the truth of the matter is, and I don't want to get off on this because we're almost at our hour here, and I still have a couple more pages to go. But the truth of the matter is if you want to know what they're thinking, like are they angry, are they resentful, are they happy? just look at their environment, because their environment is an illumination of their emotions. It lights up what their emotions are. It's a beacon straight to what they think. And oh yeah, by the way, all of these personalities we're talking about are either they come from or are developed from loss and failed purposes.
Mm.
So like the resentful guy is really full of loss and resentful and loss and failed purposes.
Mm.
So you're just another one on the chain. You just come along, and it's possible that it's just not going to happen. And
he's already mad at you. You just showed up. He's already mad at you. I didn't even do it.
They don't believe that you're going to do it because so many before you have given him or her a loss or failed purposes. Failed purpose means they had a purpose and it didn't go the way they thought it was going to go.
Yep.
Right. And what happened is that because they had that experience, you're just another one in the chain link, and they don't believe you, which is the reason why you're not making a deal with them, because they know that you aren't real. They don't. If you're in cheerful and they're in anger or resentment, you're not going to match.
Yeah.
Because the resentful person doesn't think you're real. You're cheerful. They don't think you're real.
Mm.
Right? So that's a whole other podcast. The point is that's the reason why mirroring does so well when you match somebody's personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're being resentful of the husband, I can understand why your husband, that sucks your husband would do something like that. You know what? Let's get even with him. How about if we did this? You know what I mean? And you mirror them. That's why mirroring works. So, by the way, most common out of these personalities are fear, passive aggressive. I didn't talk about it earlier. Disinterest. People are disinterested.
Mm.
Boredom and conservatism. Those are the common ones. Right? Fear, passive aggressive, disinterested, boredom, and conservatism.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the common ones we run into. Those are the most usual ones. All right, number 6. Mastermind with 2 other on these questions and responses. Brainstorming helps you come up with great new responses. So I could do a whole podcast just on this. I will tell you, because I actually have my own coaching group, plus I help others in their coaching groups. I got a couple other people I help with, and I like to do that. It's my karma, if you would. I will tell you, without great effort, just telling you this, you go check it out for yourself. Napoleon Hill wrote in Think and Grow Rich about the mastermind group. If you want to get, that was in the early 1900s. If you want to get the true theory on what I'm talking about, then read that book. You can get it online for free, right? It's Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill. Go to the mastermind section.
Yeah, I just pulled mine out to reread because I want to read something really inspiring. It's one of the first books. I just pulled it out, started it.
Nice.
It's remarkable.
Good. So, well, if you're looking for a book to read, I'll tell you what you should be reading.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Atomic Habits.
Oh, the one you were talking about the other day, Atomic Habits.
By Jim Clear. You should read that book. Anyways, we have found that the most powerful thing for rookies to do is to get in groups of 3, right? That are equivalent to one another. Like all 3 of you haven't done a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what you should do is you should meet before you work by phone or by Zoom or something, right? Share your targets. Like today I'm going to do this, that, and this.
Mm-hmm.
And then tomorrow, then go off and do your work. And then tomorrow, go again before you work, a little huddle. And they should only be 10 or 15 minutes long, right? A little huddle. And then talk about what happened yesterday. Like, here were my targets, and here's what I got. I surpassed my target, or I didn't, and here's what happened. I was getting ready to make calls, and my computer crashed. Or I was getting ready to make calls, and my wife came in the room, and my daughter, blah, 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 right? And then talk about what the sellers are saying on the phones. So start compiling your list by talking to your other 2 compadres. Now, I will tell you that if you get 2 other people to work with, the accountability will be unbelievable, number 1. Number 2, the camaraderie will be out the roof. And number three, what you will learn from one another in this intimate group is more than anybody else could ever teach you. Plus, you should take minutes on these. You should at least minimally record them like on a Zoom or something, right? And you should write down all the things that are happening. Like if one of your compadres says that they heard blah, 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 you should write that down. You should keep track of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you should do that, right? So it is highly probable that you will forget anything you don't write down in a few weeks. So make sure you write everything down, because if you don't, and I'm even weird. In fact, this morning I was just on a Monday.com, because I think I'm going to start going electronic with some of my I got so much going on. I need to start keeping track of things, and Monday.com has like a progress board I'm going to start using, and I'm going to start keeping track of my deals electronically. I'm going to test it, see what happens. I don't know if I'm going to continue doing it or not. The point is, if you don't write it down, in a couple of weeks, you won't even remember it happened. Number 7, we're at the hour, so I need to move quickly. What you said earlier. Number 7, interview a creative real estate superstar on what they would do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this helps you build your persuasive power to put deals together. Now, persuasive is not a bad thing. It's not like I'm telling you you're going to sneak a few drops in the Kool-Aid and try to brainwash somebody. First of all, you can't brainwash somebody. There is no such thing. The only way you can brainwash somebody is to put them in severe pain and make them unconscious. And even then, that doesn't work. Right?
Well, we better add drugs to it then. We'll put drugs on top. That'll do it.
Same thing with hypnotizing. When you're hypnotizing somebody, that's the most dangerous thing you could ever do. So this helps you build your persuasive power, right? This helps you build your persuasive power to put deals together. It's not the math that makes the deals. Realize it's not the math that makes the deals. It's understanding the seller's emotions, duplicating how they feel, which means you fully understand. It's complete empathy, and putting yourself in their shoes. They will justify the way they feel about you in the math once they feel like they should do the deal. They'll just make excuses why the math works if they feel like this is the right thing to do.
Or vice versa, no matter what the numbers are.
I was just going to say, by the way,
right?
This is like
it has to be the opposite. If they don't like you, flee.
Right. Now, here's the final piece. We're right at an hour, so here's the final piece in today's wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that if you think I fell short on giving you information today, which I hope you didn't, this is worth listening to this podcast all the way to the end. Record every conversation you do. This is extremely, extremely vital, and here's why. You'll constantly edit, hone, and polish how you talk to sellers. I still do it to this day. 21 plus years, thousands of sellers, I still do it to this day. You'll need to make every point effective. And the benefit you offer, just sing to your seller. Get the maximum out of your career. Just follow this podcast technique step by step. Make sure you go back and write down the 7 steps I talked about and implement them. Own your conversations. Observe closely the answers. And create your own collection of success. You're making your own script. Much like the famous sports guys do. Write your own playbook. You'll be amazed at the success it will bring you and your family. Real quick story. I obviously smoke cigars. I talk about it all the time. Tabaki Jones, who is a expatriate player, NFL, won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I smoke cigars with this guy multiple times a week. He's actually a nut, to be honest with you. His place is called Lounge 34 in Berlin, Connecticut. He owns a cigar shop. If you ever want to go see him, it's Lounge 34 or 34 Lounge, one or the other. It's at 126 Mill Street in Berlin. If you want to go there or call him or whatever, he's there all the time and loves to talk about football or any sport. Right now, he's been doing golfing. He was playing basketball for a while. He's just a complete athlete. What I got out of many conversations with him, many conversations with him, two things that got him to win the Super Bowl. One, whatever team he's playing against, they watch the tapes of past games over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then number two, they go on the field and they practice their moves over and over and over again. So when it's time, when the ball gets snapped in the big Super Bowl game, it's instinct. They don't think about what they're doing. It's just instinct.
Yep.
And what I'm teaching you today is that exact philosophy. If you can do it over and over and over again and keep getting better and better and better at it, hone your skills, it becomes instinct, and then you become a millionaire. And it's work. It's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding because you can make 2-3 times what any doctor or lawyer can make. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you subscribe to us. Make sure you leave us a review. Make sure you go into the description because I actually put a checklist in there on how you could do this or how you could actually get used to talking to sellers and how you can overcome the obstacles. I even have in that link special checklist on going into the house and what you look for and how you can actually practice this. Okay. That said, we're over out. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the reviews. Thanks for everything you guys do for us. And we'll be at podcast number 319 next with a whole bunch of good stuff. All right? So over and out.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you go? Bale? You still there?